Rituals of Reflection, Identity, and Entrapment. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Symbolism series. Today we're focusing on one of the most widely misunderstood ritual tools in human history, one that hides in plain sight across ancient temples, magic rites, psychological warfare programs, and modern digital life: the mirror. You'll find it in every bathroom, every dressing room, on every phone, and behind nearly every screen. But it was never just a tool for grooming. It was designed as a spiritual interface, a portal, and in many traditions, a trap. Once regarded with fear and reverence, the mirror is now casually used hundreds of times per day by the average person, without any understanding of the energetic or symbolic mechanisms being activated. Let's start with historical context. The use of mirrors dates back over 6,000 years, beginning with polished black obsidian in Anatolia and Mesoamerica, then evolving into polished copper and bronze mirrors in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and China. These early mirrors were not mass-produced items for vanity. They were tools of divination and ceremony. In Egyptian mythology, mirrors were associated with Hathor, the goddess of beauty, motherhood, and death. Hathor's mirror was used not to see one's face, but to connect with other dimensions. The mirror was a boundary-crossing device, a spiritual threshold. In Greek antiquity, the practice of katoptromancy emerged, divination using mirrors, especially water mirrors or polished metal, to reveal truths about the future, the dead, or the divine. Oracles would often gaze into darkened reflections, not to observe themselves, but to induce altered states of consciousness. This was the ancient foundation of what later became known as scrying, the act of entering trance through sustained gaze into a reflective surface. Practiced by magicians, shamans, witches, and visionaries, scrying was not entertainment. It was a high-risk method of accessing extra-dimensional communication. In Mesoamerican cultures, obsidian mirrors were associated with Tezcatlipoca, the Aztec god of the night sky, sorcery, and conflict. His name literally means smoking mirror. These mirrors were tools of war, surveillance, and ritual power, used to see beyond the veil and to manipulate fate. In both spiritual and political terms, mirrors were gateways, used only by the initiated and approached with extreme caution. Fast forward to the medieval period, and you find mirrors encoded with even more layered meaning. During funerals in Jewish and Christian households, mirrors were often covered. Why? The belief was that the soul of the deceased could become trapped in the mirror, or that the living might glimpse something they weren't supposed to see. In many Slavic and Eastern European traditions, mirrors were regarded as dangerous during sleep, birth, and death. These weren't baseless superstitions. They were preserved warnings about an energetic device that had been used, misused, and weaponized in earlier ritual systems. Which brings us to a key point. Mirrors are not neutral surfaces. They are frequency amplifiers, psychological anchors, and energetic portals. And their symbolic function has not disappeared. It's simply been rebranded. Let's now shift to modern use and symbolic function. In psychological terms, the mirror is a reinforcement mechanism. When you look into a mirror, you aren't seeing your true self. You are seeing light reflected back to you, filtered through your mood, expectations, and internal programming. What you perceive is not truth. It's an interpreted feedback loop. And when mirrors are placed in emotionally charged environments, bathrooms, bedrooms, performance stages, they serve as reinforcement tools that amplify whatever programming is already in place. This is why mirrors are central to both beauty rituals and identity programming. They are used in practices ranging from affirmations and manifestation techniques to trauma-based mind control systems, like those reported in MK-Ultra experiments. In those programs, mirrors were used to disassociate the victim from their core identity. Surrounding an individual with mirrors during moments of high stress or trauma creates multiple simultaneous perspectives, confusing spatial orientation, fragmenting perception, and opening the psyche to external suggestion. This tactic has been cited in multiple survivor testimonies and is consistent with the known psychological effect of mirror-based disassociation. Now consider how this mechanism appears in mainstream culture. Social media has turned the mirror into a digital altar. The front-facing camera on your phone is, quite literally, a black mirror. A scrying device that stares back at you. You perform into it. You alter your face with filters. You post the result and await feedback in the form of likes, shares, and comments. This loop is not casual. It is ritualistic. Repeated exposure to curated versions of the self and the external feedback they generate leads to fragmentation. You are no longer anchored to your inner identity. Instead, you are split between three entities: who you are, who you appear to be, and how others react to that appearance. This is the essence of symbolic entrapment. The mirror becomes not a tool for reflection, but a mechanism for distortion. And when the distortion becomes habitual, the ritual becomes complete. Let's look at cultural examples. In Greek mythology, the story of Narcissus is a cautionary tale about mirror entrapment. Narcissus gazes into the water, falls in love with his own reflection, and is unable to leave, eventually dying at the edge of his illusion. This is not just a moral fable. It's a symbolic warning about spiritual self-fixation. When the self becomes obsessed with its image, its essence dissolves. In fairy tales like Snow White, the queen's mirror becomes the authority on identity. She is not who she is internally. She is who the mirror declares her to be. The mirror becomes a device of judgment, hierarchy, and competition. These themes are carried into modern performance culture, where appearance determines value, and the mirror acts as gatekeeper of self-worth. In modern media production, the use of mirrors is just as ritualized. Performances often include mirror choreography, mirror maze visuals, and scenes in which a character confronts a reflection that behaves independently. These are not artistic flourishes. They are symbolic enactments of duality, identity split, and inversion. The mirror reflects one reality while concealing another. In occult systems, this is known as the reversal principle. What is shown is the opposite of what is meant. Up is down. Light is dark. Innocence is weaponized. Performance becomes ritual. We also see mirrors embedded into stage architecture. Reflective floors, mirrored costumes, and mirrored backgrounds are used during large public rituals such as award shows, Olympic ceremonies, and high-budget concerts. These are not just design elements. In ritual architecture, mirrors serve three primary functions. Amplification, they multiply light, sound, and movement, generating a larger-than-life experience. Entrapment, they reflect energy back toward the participant, containing and circulating emotion within a closed space. Splitting, they generate multiple versions of the self or the scene, creating psychological dissonance and weakening grounded presence. This mirrors the structure of traditional magic circles, where containment and redirection of energy is the core mechanic. But instead of chalk on the ground, we now use glass, lighting, and algorithmic curation. Let's not ignore consumer psychology and commercial mirrors. Retail environments frequently use manipulated mirrors, elongated to make bodies appear slimmer or brighter to enhance complexion. These are minor distortions, but they train the consumer to trust altered reflection over lived reality. The more time spent in these false mirrors, the more likely the individual is to seek identity confirmation through external sources, leading to hyperconsumption, comparison, and dependency. At this point, we must ask, what is the cumulative effect of this system? The mirror has become a ritual mechanism for identity extraction, not identity confirmation, extraction. By projecting yourself repeatedly into surfaces that do not reflect essence, you gradually disconnect from inner guidance. The more you rely on external feedback loops, especially digital ones, to confirm your image, the less capable you become of recognizing authentic selfhood without them. This is not by accident. It is by symbolic design. So what can be done? First, reframe your relationship to mirrors. They are tools, energetic interfaces, not harmless decorations. Treat them with ritual awareness. Avoid placing mirrors near beds, workspaces, or altars. These are sites of high energetic activity, and mirrors can reflect or trap emotional frequencies within those fields. Cover mirrors during spiritual work, emotional processing, or rest periods. This is not superstition. It is energetic hygiene. Second, audit your digital mirror rituals. How often are you engaging the front-facing camera to seek confirmation? How frequently do you edit your face, repeat poses, and rely on social reaction to feel whole? These acts are symbolic contracts. They reinforce a dependency on distorted feedback. Begin disrupting the loop by practicing digital presence without performance. Third, reclaim your image as a spiritual signature, not a social product. In esoteric tradition, your reflection is sacred because it echoes your soul's light, not your social branding. Learning to detach from the reflexive need to mirror yourself will re-anchor your essence. You'll begin to understand who you are without projection, without reflection, and without permission. And finally, teach this framework. Teach your children, students, clients, and communities that mirrors are symbolic technologies, tools of both consciousness and control. The only way to deactivate unconscious ritual participation is through symbolic literacy. Because just like with checkerboards and duality, mirrors are not neutral. They are encoded with centuries of symbolic use. And when you don't know what a symbol means, you participate in its power without knowing who designed it, or why. In the end, the mirror is neither enemy nor ally. It is a device, one that has been used for vision, vanity, initiation, inversion, and psychological programming. But once you recognize its true structure, you gain the ability to break the loop. And when you stop seeking truth in reflection, you finally make space for inner light to become your guide. This is the Symbolism series. Stay tuned. In the next lesson, we decode the geometry of control through the ritual use of cubes, black boxes, and Saturn symbolism, and how architectural form becomes energetic containment. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas. 11 times published author and School of Soul has just released one of our most requested deep dives, the Magic and Occult series. This series is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who know there's more going on beneath the surface, behind the media, behind the family, behind the system. This series breaks the spell and hands you the map. The Magic and Occult series includes over 200 videos on 1. Entertainment or ritual. Decoding mainstream media as mass spellwork. 2. Occult families. Spot them. How generational magic and ritual lineage hides in plain sight. 3. Occult symbolism, the signs, seals, and signals used to claim, curse, or command. 4. Esoteric symbolism, layered meaning, sacred geometry, and encoded messages. 5. Law is magic, how contracts, courts, and language are rituals of power. 6. Spells and spirits, what magic really is, and what happens when you use it. 7. Covens and lodges, where modern ritual happens and who's involved. 8. Destiny swapping, how rituals steal timelines, talent, or soul contracts. 9. Energy harvesting, spiritual parasitism, and how to seal your field. 10. The clairs, your intuitive senses, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and more. 11. Become magical, how to strengthen your gifts, protect your mind, and wield conscious force. 12. Miracles are real, divine intervention, faith portals, and supernatural reversals. 13. The chosen ones, what sets them apart and why they're always targeted. 14. The black sheep, the generational breaker, often isolated by design. 15. Targeted individuals, spiritual and technological targeting of aware souls. 16. Gang stalking, organized spiritual and psychological warfare. This is the most revealing, most spiritually advanced, and most protective series SOS has ever released. If you've ever felt something was off about this world, this will confirm it and prepare you for what comes next. Your protection begins with knowledge. Join the SOS School of Sos Vault.